And good evening, ladies and gents. Good day, wherever you may be in the world. And I said I was going to do this stream when I was on AA stream just a little while ago, where AA and Ferro looked at various military ads, and I thought, it was okay. They were obviously trying to do a narrative, and it wasn't an untrue narrative. The Western military forces, particularly the ones I know, which is to say the British Armed Forces, the Australian Armed Forces, and the American Armed Forces, are most certainly getting posed and feminized. No doubt about that whatsoever. But they did miss a few good British military adverts. And I thought I'd do a little quick stream. This stream won't be longer than an hour at most, just to show some of them. So I'm going to start with one which I am surprised Ferro missed, because I think it's a good British Army ad from years gone by. So we're going to start with this one. Oh, hopefully. I don't know my next two control. Sorry, people. I have no idea why this is taking as long as it is. Okay. Uh-huh. Let's see what's going on. If we can. Sorry about this, ladies and gents. I don't actually know what's happening at the moment and why this is not working. Okay. That's fine. That was going to close. Oh. There we go. Sorry, slowed down. Big fun. First advert. The one that I really wanted Ferro to show. So here we go. Got there eventually.
Get it together! Come on, get over! Straight through, go! There, lads, get them off. Good effort, well done. Hold it, mate. Yeah, mate. Comfortable? Play! Play!
Okay, so there was. No, we don't. But anyway, there we go. That was a pretty good British Army ad, in my opinion, and one that Ferro certainly should have found. It's the sort of thing that would appeal to adventurous, young, indigenous British men who absolutely form the base and core of all the British Armed Forces, not just the British Army. So again, this is going to be a short stream, guys. I just wanted to show a few ads that are not paused from Britain. Most of them, I have to say, are older, but the last couple are not, actually. So anyway, I'm going to move on to the next one, and we'll show that. Yeah, that was a good ad. And look, let's remember, guys, everyone these days goes on about drones and missiles and air power and all this other bollocks. It's utter nonsense in some respects, because the only thing and people who can hold ground are the infantry. And if you don't hold ground, then you ain't going to win. You can do all sorts of clever stuff with air power and missiles and drones, but if you can't hold the ground, you're not going to win. And if you want a reason why that's true, just look at the recent absolutely failed by the USA and Britain war in Afghanistan. We had all that technological advantage, but we couldn't win because we didn't have enough boots on the ground to hold the ground. Because in Afghanistan, you don't control anything beyond the range of your small arms, basically. Anyway, I'm going to go on to this next ad, which is another older British Army ad, not at all paused at all.
Years ahead of its time, its accuracy of fire is phenomenal. But to counter massive armored thrusts, the Army must have an anti-tank, anti-infantry, and reconnaissance capability. For reconnaissance and skirmish work, there are fast wheeled and tracked vehicles. From the air, Army aviation can carry out spotting duties, reconnaissance, and casualty evacuation. To increase the effectiveness of reconnaissance and surveillance, there are electronic devices and aerial drones. The enemy armor has to be stopped. In addition to our tanks, the British anti-tank capability is good. Swingfire, a wire-guided missile, outranges any known tank. At closer range, the infantry anti-tank gun, even the individual soldier has a disposable anti-tank missile for close ranges. And there's the new semi-automatic anti-tank weapon system, Milan. A medium-range line-of-sight weapon, it can be mounted on vehicles. But being man-portable, it's normally ground-mounted, where it's easier to conceal in forward areas. At the same time, the artillery, using its missiles and medium and long-range guns under computer control, is destroying enemy infantry and neutralizing their gunfire support and reserve concentrations. In addition to the heavy guns, there's the new Lance missile. With its long range, it can give nuclear battlefield support up to 110 kilometers. The Royal Electrical and Mechanical Engineers carry out field repairs and recover stranded or damaged vehicles and equipment. Britain also has a massive task of internal security in Northern Ireland, which severely stretches army manpower, but shows the army's inherent versatility. To accomplish these tasks and man all equipment, the army has a constant requirement for high-class recruits, intelligent men from all walks of life, with an active interest in the many specialized branches of army service.
You will have noticed they said men there. And you will also have noticed that, well, maybe you won't, that was the British Army that had 3 divisions in Germany, an army corps, basically. And the British Army today, in 2021, would find it very, very difficult to actually come up with an active division. During the whole of the long and utterly pointless Afghan war, the British Army struggled to maintain a large brigade group, while at the same time the Royal Marines, with only 3 Royal Marine commandos, which are basically battalion-sized formations, kept up a battalion group there through the whole of the war. There is something very, very wrong with the modern British Army, in my opinion. And I speak as a former British Army soldier. And when I was a young chap, like when I joined the army at 18 in the very early 1980s, the British Army was my religion. It just was. Anyway, we're going to go on to the next ad, and this one is a Royal Marine Commandos ad. And I have to say that the Royal Marines ads have generally been pretty good. I haven't seen any really paused ones. So, you know, I haven't watched some of these, by the way. I just, some of them I have, but not all of them. But we're going to have a look at this one now.
Close it up! Let's do on the stone on your knees! Do not put the stone! Underneath 3, 2, 1, down! Compose yourself! Compose yourself! Off you go! Good lad! Get away!
There you go. Excellent Royal Marines ad. 99.9% need not apply. That's exactly the sort of advertisement you actually really want for the military to encourage the right type of young man to join. Okay. As I said, gents, this is going to be a very short stream. I don't want to impinge on AA being with Dutton and all this kind of shit. But I just thought, you know, what I find with Ferro streams, I don't mind Ferro, but like he picks stuff out deliberately to show what he wants to show. So, for example, when they did the World War One and World War Two advertisement streams, in my opinion, Ferro deliberately picked out non-military stuff for the Brits. I might be wrong, and if he wants to argue with me, I'll quite happily have him on the stream and talk about it with him. But that's what I thought, and obviously with this last stream, again, this was done deliberately. It was, yeah. I mean, I'm not saying we're not posed in the West, and I'm certainly not saying we're not posed in Britain. But you know, the ads that were picked out for a reason, and I just thought I would do a really short stream just to kind of show that that's not entirely true. Anyway, my next one is a Royal Navy ad, and I actually kind of like this one. And to be fair, and so that no one, you know, like I'm an ex-British soldier, like my father, grandfather, great-grandfather, but my son's serving in the Royal Navy in the Fleet Air Arm, so I am a bit biased. So, you know, just so you know. Anyway, we'll do this one next. Okay, that one was the Royal Navy Carrier Task Force, Carrier Task Group for symbols. That's HMS Queen Elizabeth, one of the two very large Royal Navy aircraft carriers. She's escorted by two Type 23 anti-submarine warfare frigates and two Type 45 anti-aircraft missile destroyers. She's also escorted by an SSN Astute class hunter-killer submarine, and she has considerable support from the Royal Fleet Auxiliary in terms of fast fleet tankers and storeships. It's a very powerful force. I have to say, if I had my way, it would have 4 rather than 2 anti-submarine warfare frigates. And HMS Queen Elizabeth herself would have like 36 fast jets on board and not about half that number. But they're the only 2 criticisms I have of the British Carrier Strike Task Group. And my son's serving on board HMS Queen Elizabeth, and they're shortly going to sail through the South China Sea. And I will say to everybody right now, fuck Communist China. And my own opinion is, if they even look slightly badly at that group, they'll get whacked. Because I know the Royal Navy has spent a long time working very hard to train up for this mission. And yeah, if I was the Chinese, I'd leave them the fuck alone, frankly. But there we go. All right, so I'm going to, like I said, again, it was going to be a short stream. I just thought there were things that Ferro could have shown. I mean, I don't even look at AA in terms of the military. What AA knows about the military is not worth knowing, frankly. But he doesn't claim that it is. But anyway, yeah, I'm going to finish up with this one, which is an ad for the Royal Navy Fleet Air Arm, which is the arm that my son is serving. And I think it's actually a pretty good ad, especially when you bear in mind it was actually made. I'm not sure if it was this year or late last year, but it's like current, and I think it's one of the best British Armed Forces ads that's been made in a very long time. So anyway, here we go.
Flying is a mixture of excitement, there's some anticipation, sometimes there's a little bit of nerves, a little bit scary, and then hand in hand with that, there's also a sheer just fun factor of lining up before the ramp on the carrier, converting the aircraft into a STOVL mode or a short takeoff and vertical land mode, where the nozzles are angled downward, the engine spins up the lift fan, and you can feel the aircraft start to change and vibrate, and you now push the power up, and you can feel that she's getting ready to get airborne, you're holding it against the brakes, now you're waiting for the flight deck officer to give his last signal and point you down the deck, and that whole time the anticipation is building, your heart rate's building, you're a little bit scared, the ship's pitching, and you can see beyond the bow of the carrier where you're about to go, and then you slam the throttle open, you feel the jet start to really spool up, she's holding against the brakes, you release the brakes and you start to accelerate towards the end of the deck. And for that whole run down the deck, there is definitely a level of anticipation in your mind. Will it work this time like it's worked before, like it worked in the simulator, like it worked when we spoke about it in the brief? And all of a sudden, you're off the front end and it becomes all about business at that point.
Okay, so tell me that was not a good British ad that would appeal to young men, you know? That was a good British ad. It would appeal to young men. It was also quite truthful. No women in it, no people of colour, just the Royal Navy Fleet Air Arm. And incidentally, for anyone who doesn't know, and I'm always surprised how many people don't know this, every single British air-to-air kill in air-to-air combat from at least 1946 or maybe 1948, it just depends who you believe, have been by the Royal Navy Fleet Air Arm. Like in the Korean War, for example, Royal Navy Fleet Air Arm piston engine fighters were shooting down North Korean, actually Chinese jets because they were that damn good. So anyway, like I said, I only wanted to do a little short stream because I just get fed up with these people who make streams and they don't even really do their research properly. And I'm not really slagging Ferro off because Ferro was like providing what AA wanted, I presume. But he did miss out some pretty good British ads, which I hope I've shown a few of them on this stream. And not everything is positive fuck, you know. Yeah, most things are. I agree. Like, you listen to my stream every Saturday. I do a stream every Saturday UK time, Saturday night, about 10 o'clock, called Splendid Isolation. I think we're going to be up to 32 this weekend. And yeah, you'll hear plenty of patriotic and nationalist Brits moaning about the state of modern Britain. But not all of modern Britain is like that. And so that's why I decided to do this short extempore stream, you know. So there we go. There are some pretty good British ads for the military. And I have to say that, like, if you've done, say, 3 years in the army or something like that, if the shit ever really does hit the fan, you're going to be far more based on what you need to do and how to survive than people who haven't. I would say that too. So anyway, folks, it was just my little stream. Like I said, don't want to like impinge on other people's streams. If anyone's got a quick question in the chat, I'll answer it, but I'm only going to go for about another 3 minutes. I will say this to Barn Door, who says dinghies in sight. Do you know what? An aircraft carrier would be a bit of an overkill for dinghies. If the British government had even the slightest interest in stopping dinghies, like we could send out inflatable rubber boats manned by the Army and the Royal Marines and they could stop them. But we don't, and the reason we don't is because the British government doesn't want to stop them. Like if I was in charge of the British government, I would pick those dinghies up wherever they were in the channel and I would land them at the nearest French port, which is where they came from. It's got nothing whatever to do with the Royal Navy. The Royal Navy, like Britain is an island nation, it's a trading nation. We can't feed ourselves. We couldn't feed ourselves if we tried these days. We just don't have enough land. And we're a world trading nation. And the only way Britain can make money and be successful is to be a world trading nation. And that depends on the sea, because 98.5% of world trade goes by the sea in ships. That's why Britain needs a powerful Royal Navy. Now, Britain has the most powerful navy in Europe, which is okay, but it's not saying a great deal, to be honest with you. But what you have to bear in mind is the Royal Navy really needs, at very minimum, 25 major surface escorts, which is to say frigates and destroyers. Frigates, by and large, are anti-submarine warfare platforms, and destroyers these days are mostly anti-aircraft and anti-missile platforms. Although both of them can also fight surface ships and all this kind of stuff, and they have helicopters. But Britain needs 25 of that sort of ships, not the mere 17 they have today. Now, the Royal Navy is very slowly growing a little bit, whilst the British Army basically is like totally useless at the moment. I mean, you can use the parachute, the couple of parachute regiments. Yeah, you can use those if you only have a small scale story, and obviously you can use the Royal Marines, same thing, and the British Special Forces like the Royal Marines Special Boat Squadron and the Army's SAS. You can use those guys; they're all good. But the majority of the British Army these days, I think there are 32 infantry battalions left in the British Army, and all of them except one are under strength, and many of them are so under strength you actually couldn't deploy them. And the only one that is not under strength is the 1st Battalion of the Royal Gurkha Rifles. So, you know, I mean, that should tell you. The British Army actually could fight like a near-peer enemy, you know, an enemy that has the same kind of technology and weapons. And even if we were winning, the British Army would almost be totally destroyed in about 2 weeks. Even if we were winning. Like, you know, people talk about the BEF in 1914 being tiny compared to the German army and the French army and all the rest of it, which it was. Best army in the world, like, honestly, best soldiers probably ever walked the earth. But they mostly got killed, wounded, and destroyed in the mincing machine of the German artillery. But the BEF in 1914 was enormous compared with the British Army. Like 3 times as big as the British Army is now. The British Army today is like almost totally irrelevant, to be honest with you. And that makes me sad because I'm a British Army soldier, and I came from a family whose father, grandfather, and great-grandfather at least all served in the British Army. Doesn't make me happy. It's just a fact, mate. Do I think the Royal Navy should be more important for Britain today than the Army? Yes, I do. But we're not spending enough on the Royal Navy either. But the British Army at the moment is just a bloody joke. And it's partly because the senior officers of the British Army can't even work out what it's for. But anyway, as I said, it was always going to be a short stream. Didn't want to make it a long one. But yeah, there are some pretty based British ads if you want to go and look them up. So have a good day, ladies and gents, and I will see you Saturday at about 10 p.m. UK time, or if you're down under, I'll see you at about 7 a.m. Sunday Aussie time. So go well, folks.